All right. So, Nazism and the rise of Hitler, page 49. Now, if you see that this chapter, it also starts with a story, and like you told me about Hitler, that Hitler, you said he was a dictator, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And he belonged to which country?
Ma'am, Germany.
Germany. All right. So, let's see what the story is about. Now, in the spring of 1945, there was 11-year-old boy, 11-year-old German boy. His name was Helmut. Now he was lying in his bed, and he heard that his parents were talking about something. They were discussing something in very serious tone. So very seriously they were discussing something, and his father, he was a prominent physician, so he was a prominent doctor, and he was deliberating, he was discussing with his wife that whether it was the right time to kill the entire family, or he should commit suicide alone. So now just imagine, 11-year-old boy, he overhears his parents talking about this, that whether the father, he should kill the entire family or he should commit suicide alone. And he also heard his father in speaking about that he was afraid of revenge, and he said that now the allies will do to us what we did to the crippled and the Jews. So his father was saying that now the allies, and so who were the allies? The allied powers were basically, led by UK and France, and in 1941 they were also joined by the USSR and USA. And so here we are talking about the Second World War. All right, Second World War began in which year? Yes, class, any idea? Second World War. Okay, First World War. This we did.
Ma'am, 1914.
Right, 1914. So 1914 to 1918, First World War. Second World War, 1939 to 1945. Okay, so this was the year that the Second World War, it came to an end. And so in 1941, they were joined by the USSR and USA, the Allied powers, and they fought against the Axis powers. The Axis powers, the Central powers, were Germany, Italy, and Japan, and against them, the Allied powers were UK, France, USSR, and USA. Okay, so what he heard his father saying, that now the allies, now they will do to us what we have done to the crippled and to the Jews. And so the next day, obviously what they did, that we will study during the course of this chapter. And the next day, father, he took Helmut to the woods, means to the forest area, and there, they spent their last happy time together, and they sang old children's songs. And later, Helmut father, he shot himself in the office. And Helmut, he remembers that he saw his father's bloody uniform. It was being burnt in the family fireplace. You know what is a fireplace? Yes, class? Fireplace? Any idea?
Ma'am, the open place where you light fire.
Anyone else? If you have seen, any Western movies, English movies, in their living room, they have a fireplace. It is attached to a chimney, also connected.
Yes, ma'am.
Seen that?
Like in Harry Potter.
Yes, right. Okay. And so uh, he remembers that he saw his father's bloody uniform, because obviously he shot himself, so blood oozed out, and so he saw his bloody uniform, that it was being burnt in the fireplace of the family, means in their house. And the boy, he was so traumatized by what he saw and what he heard, means he overhears something. And then, next day he sees that his father's uniform is being burnt, bloody uniform is being burnt. And so, he was so traumatized by it, that he refused to eat at his home for the following 9 years. Means after that, for the following 9 years, he did not eat at home. Why? Because he was afraid that his mother might poison him. Means he was you could say he was so traumatized by this whole thing, hearing his father say that whether he should kill the entire family or just he should suicide alone. And then seeing his father's uniform being burnt in the family fireplace. And so it traumatized him so much that he did not eat at home for the 9 years, following 9 years. Why? Because he was afraid that maybe his mother might poison him, put something in the food. And now Helmut, obviously at that time he did not mean that, he did not realize that what his father said, that what was the meaning of what all his father said. Now his father, he had been a Nazi, okay, and a supporter of Adolf Hitler. So his father was a supporter of Adolf Hitler, he was a Nazi. And now obviously some of you might know something about the Nazis and about Hitler also. Like you knew that he belonged to Germany and he was a dictator. And maybe you don't know, but that he was a Nazi and he followed Nazi ideology. Now what all that is, obviously we'll do during the course of this chapter. And maybe you know that Hitler, he wanted to make Germany into a mighty superpower. Hitler wanted to make Germany as a superpower, and he wanted to conquer all Europe. He had this dream of conquering entire Europe, ambition of conquering entire Europe. And so he also wanted to make Germany as a superpower. All this you need to remember. So he wanted to make Germany into a superpower, and he want to conquer the whole of Europe. And then maybe some of you might have heard that he killed the Jews. But when we talk about Nazism, we say that Helmut's father, he was a Nazi. So when we talk about Nazism, obviously it was not just one two isolated acts. Okay, that okay, Nazis, so they killed the Jews. Okay, Nazi, they wanted to conquer the whole of Europe, and like that. So it was not just one two isolated acts. Basically, Nazism, it was a system, it was a proper structure of ideas about the world as well as about politics. So Adolf Hitler, he practiced that. Nazism was a total proper system. It was not just that the Nazis, they killed the Jews, all right, or the Nazis, they wanted to make Germany as a superpower. It was not just like that. It was a proper system, a proper of ideas that constituted about how the world should be and how politics should be. And let us try to understand that what Nazism was all about. And we will also see that why Helmut's father, he killed himself, and why he was so afraid. Why did he say that now the Allies will do to us what we did to the crippled and the Jews? Means why he was so afraid, and what was why did he kill himself? So all that we will see during the course of this chapter. Now in May 1945, Germany, I told you that in 1945 World War II, it came to an end. So Germany surrendered to the Allies, and now anticipating, now they knew what was to come. So Hitler, his propaganda minister Goebbels, and his entire family, they committed suicide. Now they knew, okay, because they have surrendered, they have lost the war, and so now they knew what will happen to them. So Hitler, his propaganda minister, and his entire family, they together collectively, they committed suicide in his Berlin bunker in April. And at the end of the war, so finally when the war was over, so an international military tribunal, it was set up. So a tribunal was set up at Nuremberg, and now this was done so that they can prosecute, they can punish the Nazi war criminals, so that they can punish the Nazi people for the crimes that they have committed. Let's see what crimes. For crimes against peace, they have committed crimes, some crimes against peace. Then war crimes, means during war times what all they did, and crimes against humanity. So Second World War gets over, all right. Hitler, he surrenders, He knew what was to come. He, his propaganda minister, entire family, they commit suicide. After the World War was over, an international tribunal, a body was set up to decide what will happen after that. And so this tribunal was set up so that they can punish the Nazi people for the crimes that they have committed. What crimes? Crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. And now Germany's conduct during the time this war was fought, 1939 to 1945. Now during this time, Germany, the way it conducted itself, and especially, there were certain crimes which Germany committed, which were called as crimes against humanity. Now these crimes, they raised serious moral questions, ethical questions, that whether it is right to do like that, means whether it is really good, whether anyone should do something like that. And so there were certain crimes which Germany committed during this time, and they were called as crimes against humanity, and they raised moral questions as well as ethical questions. And when the people, they got to know, means when the time, the World War was going on, people throughout the world, they were so engrossed into this World War and its effects and consequences and everything. So, and what was happening in Germany, the media, it was totally under the control of Hitler. And so the news, what was happening, it did not go out much. And during the last years of the war, some information had trickled out of Germany. And so after the World War was over, then the people, they came to know that to the extent of what happened in Germany. And that, when people, they got to know, so there was condemnation throughout the world about the things which happened in Germany. Now, what were these things? What did Germany do during that time, so that the whole world condemned it? You may condemn means, to give certain punishment, all right, that of their wrongdoing. And so let's see what did they do to bring about such condemnation from the entire world. Now, under the shadow of the Second World War, so on, you could say, on every coin has two sides. So on one side, this Second World War was going on, and on the other side, Germany, they waged a genocidal war. Genocidal means based on race, so racial killing. So on one side, World War II was going on, and on the other side, in Germany, people were killed because, or on the basis of the race to which they belong to. And genocidal war means, it means these people, they were not only killed, it was massacre. Massacre, does anyone know what is the meaning of massacre? You must have studied about Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Any idea what is massacre? Yes, class?
Mom, killing brutally is called massacre.
Okay, so brutal killing of a large number of people. So, what happened? Like I told you, one side the war was going on, and on the other side, in Germany, people were killed, brutally killed in large numbers, just because of the race they belonged to. And now this resulted in the mass murder. And it was not that everyone was being killed, selected groups of innocent civilians. So, selected groups were there, all right, and innocent people who did not do anything wrong, they were being targeted and they were being killed. Let's see how many people were killed. Now this is the official number, so you can well imagine what would have been the real number. And here we are talking about 1939 to 1945. The number of people killed included 6 million Jews, 2 lakh gypsies, 1 million Polish civilians, 70,000 Germans who were considered mentally and physically disabled. Means even people, those who were mentally or physically disabled, handicapped. Now they were also killed by their own government. Now you try to understand that. Okay. And so 70,000 Germans who were mentally and physically disabled, they were also killed. And in addition, innumerable political opponents, everyone who opposed Hitler, or anyone who opposed Nazism, or his ideas, his beliefs, all the political opponents, innumerable, means we don't know the count, they all were killed. And now how to kill them? So Nazis, they devised an unprecedented means a way which was not known before. unparalleled before. So they found a way of killing people. And what was that way? Do you know how the Nazis killed the people? Any idea? Yes? Do you know how the Nazis they killed the people? They killed by gassing them. All right, so they gassed them obviously with poisonous gas in various killing centers, though they had many killing centers in Germany and even in occupied Poland. And so in many killing centers they had like Auschwitz was one of them, and there they killed the people by gassing them. And so like I told you that an international military tribunal it was set up, and this Nuremberg tribunal, uh, they killed so many people, they did so many crimes. All right, and obviously we have not mentioned all, we have simply mentioned the people that they have killed. And when they have done so much, but still the Nuremberg tribunal, they sentenced only 11 leading Nazis, only 11 Nazi leaders to death, only 11. And see the crimes. And then many others, they were also imprisoned for life. So the retribution means the penalty for doing wrong, it did come. But what do you think? Was the punishment equal to the crimes that they have done? What do you think?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am, they were not equal.
All right. So the penalty did come, yet the punishment of the Nazis, it was by far short of the brutality. Means the brutality and the extent of their crimes, what they have done, the penalty they got, but obviously it was not in any way you could say the same. And so the punishment was far short. And why they did not get harsh punishment for their crimes? Now why? Because the Allies, they did not want it to be harsh on defeated Germany as they had been after the First World War. Now, Germany had been on the loser side even in the First World War, and so what they mean to say is that now this time the Allies, they did not want it to be so harsh on Germany, because after the First War they had been very harsh on Germany, and now they did not want it to do that again. Why? Because everyone came to feel that Nazi Germany, it was partly because of what German experienced at the end of the First World War. Means what we mean to say is that later on people realize that Nazi Germany, it only came into being because of what penalty they were given at the end of the First World War. And all because of that, not just totally, but obviously a large part, we can say partly, Nazi Germany emerged because of the harsh terms of treaty that were meted out to them after the First World War. Okay, now what was this harsh treatment? What was this experience that Germany had after the First World War that made Germany into a Nazi Germany? Okay, let's have a look at that. Okay, now Germany was a powerful empire in the early years of the 20th century, and they have fought the First World War, and this they fought along with Austrian Empire and against the Allies. Okay, so First World War also, Germany, it was on the loser side, all right, Axis powers or Central powers, and it fought the First World War along with Austria and against England, France, and Russia. Okay, now all people, they joined the war. In the beginning they were all so enthusiastic to join the war. Earlier what happened? People, when they wanted to expand the kingdom, or they wanted to have more resources, wanted to expand their resources, so they waged war against other kingdoms. And obviously if they were able to win over it, then obviously that land also came under your own, so your kingdom expanded, as well as now the resources of that particular kingdom now were also yours. So basically what happened at this time, that all these countries, they had joined the war hoping to gain from a quick victory, that they may get a victory, and obviously then obviously there'll be gain for them. But the people, when they started this war, or they participated in this war, they never realized that the war, it would go on. They never knew that this would become world war. They never knew that, and so they did not realize that the war, it would stretch on, and eventually it will drain Europe from all its resources. Whenever there's a war, obviously so many resources are lost. It is not only the loss of human resources. Obviously, that is the main part. So many humans are killed, and then in addition to that, financial resources, food and everything, because your total focus, your industries suffer, your agriculture, everything suffers, because why? Your total attention is towards this war. And so this war, it in the end, it drained Europe of all its resources. And Germany, when this first world war began, it made initial wins. So it occupied France and Belgium, and so in the beginning, Germany, it was able to win. So they made some initial wins, but however, the Allies, they were strengthened. So when the US, they entered the first world war in 1917, so obviously with the coming of the US, the allied powers, they were strengthened, and so they defeated Germany and the Central Powers in November 1918. So here basically Germany, Austria, Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria, now these were the Central Powers at that time. So basically all them were defeated by the allied powers, means England, France, Russia and USA. Okay, so most of the countries, they have participated in the first world war thinking that they will make some quick gains, but it did not turn out like that. The war, it stretched on and it drained Europe of all its resources. And the allied, obviously, they were strengthened with the coming of US, and finally Germany and the Central Powers, the Axis powers, they were defeated. Okay, now let's see what happened after that, because we're talking about the experience that Germany had after the first world war, which made Germany into a Nazi Germany. Let's see what happened. Okay, now the defeat of Imperial Germany. Now at that time, when Germany entered the first world war, it was imperialist nation. Imperialist nation, any idea? No? Okay, so at that time, it was basically their main motive was to win over other countries and make colonies. All right, and obviously at that time it was ruled by a monarch also. Now Imperial Germany, it was defeated, and the emperor, means like I told you, it was ruled by a monarch at that time. And so Germany is defeated. The emperor, he has to abdicate his position, means he had to step down from his position. And then parliamentary form of government, it was set up in Germany. This we're talking after the first world war. So Imperial Germany was defeated, the emperor, he stepped down, and now there was an opportunity for the parliamentary parties in Germany to recast, means to re-establish German politics. And so a national assembly, it met at Weimar. It is pronounced as Weimar. So a national assembly, it's met at Weimar, and they establish a democratic constitution. Like democratic constitution, we have a constitution, and we follow democracy in our country. That means we can elect our own rulers, obviously no monarch ruling over them. And so after the first world war, national assembly, they met at Weimar, and they established a democratic constitution with a federal structure. Anyone here knows what is a federal form of government? I think this you should know. Federal form of government. This I've talked to you about when we were doing civics. Federal form of government. Come on, class. Having a government at more than one level. So it could be two or more, means having a central government for the entire country and different state or provincial governments for the different states. In our country, we also have a third tier or a third level of government, which is called as the local self-governing bodies, in the form of panchayats in villages, and municipalities in towns, and municipal cooperation in big cities like Lucknow. Okay, so in Germany also, National Assembly met at Weimar, and they established a democratic government, had a constitution with a federal structure. All right, and so this you need to understand, and that is all the time we have for today. When we meet, we will continue. Okay, so whatever little we have done today, have you been able to understand that? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.